Welcome to the Swirl Suite, everybody. So we have a bonus episode this week. We interview Ames Morison. He is the co-founder and founding partner of Medlock Ames Winery. He is a master farmer, and he grew up in Virginia, probably about an hour from where we live in DC. Even though he had all of this experience and all of this knowledge in farming, winemaking was not on his radar until one night him and a friend had too many bottles and decided to move to California. It's quite a captivating story, and it seemed like he was born to do this. While you're enjoying this episode, don't forget to like, comment, share, and leave us 5 stars. Cheers. Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Yes.
We're waiting
Are you ready?
Ready for your beautiful introduction.
Welcome to the Swirl.
Listen,
Sorry,
that just made my night. Welcome to the
Swirl Suite, y'all.
How y'all doing tonight?
Hey.
Tanisha, did you get a nap today? Because you're a little spicy right now.
Ain't she spicy today?
It's early for her.
It's early.
It's only 10
I'm not
o'clock,
cheap
that's
yet.
why.
It's only 10.
Oh my goodness. How's everybody doing today?
Good. Thanks for
Great.
asking.
Wonderful.
I'll tell you in a
Leslie.
minute when I taste this wine.
Oh, let me
Uh-oh.
tell y'all. So we have a special guest, and he was kind enough to send us bottles of his 2019 Cabernet. This is a wine that will make you forget what day you had. Whatever day
my
that you
God.
had, my
It's
God,
beautiful.
it's so good.
Mhm.
Oh my God, it's beautiful. I'm so scared I'm gonna fall in love with it.
You just
And I'll
might.
be harassing you.
I'm like, are
Oh
those
my
the
God.
last of the bottles forever? Like, I'm certain you'll be able to get it again.
Yeah.
You never
I'm
know.
sorry.
One of those times where, I mean, it's a gorgeous wine, and I'm quite sure we will get into that. That I do want it to last, but I don't have my Corbin
Oh,
because I need the capsule. So I'm like,
I have my Corvin, and
Me
I was going back
too.
and forth. I was like, should I or shouldn't I? Girl, you want this bottle. It's fine. We're gonna finish this
Right.
week.
We're gonna
so
finish this
it
thing.
will
It's all
be
good.
finished.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's
nothing will
definitely
go
not
to
gonna go to
waste.
waste. So
You know I love a good Cabernet too. Oh my
Mhm.
God. Oh. Okay, y'all go ahead and talk. I'll be back with y'all in a minute after I finish sipping.
Well, you know what, Ames, you might as well jump in since we're talking about your wine anyway.
Oh.
Oh, well, great. My name is Ames Morison. I'm the co-founder of Medlock Ames Vineyard and Winery, which is an organic vineyard and winery in Sonoma County, California. We are our vineyard straddles the dividing line between the Alexander Valley appellation and the Russian River Valley appellation. So we have some sort of influences of both of those growing regions. And I started this venture to follow my dream to make wine about 25 years ago. I was living in New York City, and my best friend and I were sort of new to wine. We were just trying to learn about it, and we try to stump each other and find some oddball grape varieties and see if we could trick each other. And one night we just drank a little bit too much wine, and we came up with this idea where we'd quit our jobs, move to California, and start making wine. And the next day, we even though our heads were a little bit clearer, we still thought it was a good idea. So within a few months, we quit our jobs, moved to California, and I started studying winemaking at UC Davis. And then every weekend, we drive all over California looking for land for sale. And after looking at about 100 different properties, we found this beautiful abandoned old vineyard and just set about restoring it, bringing it back to life, converting it to organic production. Well, it took a long time to find the right one, and we didn't know what we were doing, so it took us a lot longer. But that was 1997 when we first started.
Wow.
Oh, nice. So way before that, you grew up on a farm, I saw, in Virginia. What part of
That's
Virginia
right.
did you grow up in?
I grew up in Loudoun County, which is
Right
just
there.
over the border from Maryland, right across the river. And I grew up out in the country in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Oh,
Really,
yeah,
really beautiful
sure.
land. And So I kind of always had that love of nature and land in my blood. And there's actually a growing wine industry in Virginia. It's getting pretty developed.
Certainly is. Yeah. What did you grow on the farm that you grew up on?
We grew, when I was little, we raised cattle and pigs and grew all the crops to feed them. But then my father never made any money doing that. And one day he just realized that we're only about an hour from Washington, D.C. And there are all these people who grew up riding horses who just have these expensive retired pets. And so he turned our farm into a kind of a retirement home for old horses. And it just was a lot easier. And it allowed him, he didn't set out to do this, but it allowed him to farm organically. So that was a great influence on me too.
Really quick.
Have you been back to Loudoun County? I'm sorry. Have you been back to Loudoun County since?
Oh yeah, I go back a few times a year to visit family. And it always amazes me how much, how every time I go back, I see more and more vineyards going in.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I just had a small side question. I heard that horses are full of personality, even more so than like dogs and cats. Was that hard for y'all to have like a retirement land for older horses?
Yeah, it is hard because every horse that shows up is probably going to end its days there. So it's a little bit sad, but these horses are, it's sort of like paradise for them. They're turned out among all their friends. They can do what they want, and it's really interesting to watch them. And they're just sort of living like they would in the wild. It's kind of interesting.
Oh,
and they do have a lot of personality, and they form cliques. It's interesting to see like who they gravitate towards. It's kind of funny.
That's crazy. So why didn't you decide to plant grapes in Virginia where you already were?
I don't know. I probably just had this adventurous spirit. I wanted to try something new and do something on my own. And California just seemed like the best place in the United States to follow that dream.
Interesting. Can I circle back to one thing? Since I'm a city girl, how long do horses live? What's their lifespan?
Let's see, 25 is pretty old for a horse, but we've had horses that have lived to their late 30s.
Wow.
But even when they start to get 20, they look like old people. They start to lose a lot of weight. They look like they get arthritis.
Wow.
And they just lose some of that youthful spirit that horses have when they're younger.
Okay, thank you. Didn't know that.
And you also went to Tulane, Leslie.
Yeah.
New Orleans.
You went to Tulane also?
No, I did not. I have a lot of family in Louisiana.
New Orleans is such an amazing city. It's it's the birthplace of jazz, and there's just great music, great food, and everybody is so friendly there. It's a really nice environment.
I have a friend. She was originally from Philly, and she moved to New Orleans and then back to DC. She said that everything was bland when she came out of New Orleans.
Yeah. Yeah, they put a lot of spice in their cooking, but it's just the right amount. It's not too much.
It's flavorful. That's all. It's flavorful.
Yeah.
No, it's spicy. It's hot and spicy.
Everything
Someone
is
from
flavorful.
Chicago would say that.
Oh, so shots fired. All right, I see what you're trying to do here. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put myself back on mute. I know when I'm not wanted.
We love you.
So, Ames, you were also in the Peace Corps in Guatemala. How was that?
That's right. That was just such a formative experience for me. A few months after college, I had the opportunity to go into the Peace Corps and worked with farmers in the kind of very remote highlands of Guatemala. And I was helping groups of farmers, women's groups, students to create community gardens. And it was really just satisfying to see that empowerment people feel when they work together and create something that can help feed their community. And it was such a great experience for me. And it really, it also had a big influence on my desire to farm organically, because although the people there have such tremendous reverence for the land. They use a lot of chemical pesticides, not in the small groups, like the small cooperatives I've worked with, but a lot of farmers there use pesticides, and it feels kind of indiscriminate. They're not wearing the proper protective clothing. And it just made me really just worried for these people. And so it made me realize that when I wanted to start farming, I wanted to do it in a chemical-free way.
Over the summer last year, we had an opportunity to go up to the Finger Lakes, and Sarita and Glennis sat on this panel that sticks with me today. And they were talking a lot about the farming practice in grape growing and fruit and what have you. And one of the biggest challenges is that a lot of the people who work in the farms, English is their second language. And so many of the instructions for the chemicals and how to handle them are not in Spanish or another language. So a lot of those farmers are at a disadvantage and potentially harmful to their health because they're not aware of what to do with those chemicals.
The safety data sheets. It's the safety data sheets. At one point, especially early, I guess, it's becoming more prevalent now in most farms. They put the chemical data sheets in English and Spanish as a second language for the most part. And that's because of the environmental justice movement. To speak to Leslie's point, the gentleman that co-chaired or was on the panel with us, that was one of the things he spoke to, and it really resonated with me as well. So you got to, if we don't have anybody in the vineyard to pick the fruit and they're healthy, it's going to affect down the supply chain. So we got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. In California, the vast majority, I would say well over 90% of farm workers, Spanish or English is not their first language. So it's really critical. But the vineyard owner, the farm owner, has a legal obligation to make sure that the people who are in contact with the pesticides know all the risks and all the safety protocols because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting
have a legal obligation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's really interesting that overlap between between people caring for the environment and caring for people doing the work. Like that environmental justice is usually when one happens, the other's happening, or when one's not happening, you can probably expect that the other is not happening too.
Exactly.
Is it, I know California has been the leader for a long time in sustainable farming and conscious farming. Is it difficult in your area to maintain organic farming for runoff or anything of that nature, or do you have good neighbors that also practice the same?
It's much easier just because of our climate here. It's much easier to farm grapevines organically than it is on the East Coast. We don't see one drop of rain generally between April and October. And so we have a lot less to worry about in terms of like diseases where you get a lot of summer rains in Virginia and Maryland, and then you have different sort of exotic insect pests that have come in from other parts of the world that are really do a lot of damage to grapevines. And I think there's only one certified organic winery in all of Virginia. In Sonoma County, where I live, which is probably one of the highest percentages of organic certified vineyards, less than 2% of the vineyard land is organic, and this is a pretty progressive county.
Wow,
Excellent.
But the hardest thing for us is to manage weeds. So because we get so little rainfall, any weeds are competition for the vines for their needs. And there's a very cheap alternative called glyphosate, which is sort of the main ingredient of Roundup. And that is very effective and cheap, but it's
So bad.
There's some, I guess I don't know if it's been proven or not, but there's some possible links between glyphosate use and different types of cancer. And it's also just, not good for the microbes in the soil.
Yep, that would be a correct statement. And there's also been some studies that links glyphosate with, because they use glyphosate on wheat as well. And there has been some studies and links to gluten intolerance as well because of it.
Yeah.
So,
if you're eating bread that's not organic, and it's from the US, it's almost 100% certain that it's been sprayed with glyphosate. So that's
exactly.
Think about.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
That is one of the things you should either make your own, which could be time consuming, or definitely seek out organic.
Or don't eat American bread. There's that.
Yeah.
How are we not?
Listen to her from France.
Right,
Exactly.
Y'all know, y'all have everything fresh there.
Exactly.
Sorry, not sorry.
All I got to do is go downstairs right under my apartment. I can get whatever food I want. We got to drive to the supermarket.
Oh my gosh.
But you have a car with air conditioning and heat. That seems nice.
Not with these gas prices. No, it don't.
Yeah.
No, it does not.
Well, I'm gonna send you guys prices here. I'm gonna send y'all the photo.
Oh, please do. I'm dying to know.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sorry,
we digress.
Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. All right. Sorry.
We digress.
And we're back.
Back to Ames.
That was a TV timeout.
What kind of grapes do you grow?
We grow 7 different grape varieties: Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, Malbec, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and a tiny bit of Pinot Noir. And we used to grow 9 varieties, and so I'm used to saying 9 when someone asked me that question. But we had a fire, a drought influenced wildfire that's hit our vineyard a couple of years ago, and it burned some of the grapevines. So we had to remove about 20% of our vineyard. So we've done a lot of replanting.
Oh, wow.
Man. Yeah, sorry to hear that.
Ames, I recently read in, 750 Daily, they were talking about a Merlot shortage in Sonoma. Is that affecting you at all?
Well, it doesn't affect us because we grow all of our own grapes. We don't buy any grapes, so a shortage would actually might help us. But I had not heard that there was a shortage. But Merlot has been a variety that was kind of much maligned after a movie called Sideways that just kind of trashed it. And the year or the week that movie came out was the first week that we had commercial wine that we'd produced. I was getting ready to go out into the marketplace and start selling this wine at restaurants and wine shops. And this movie came out, and overnight it just became impossible to sell. So a lot of people started pulling out their Merlot vineyards. So maybe that's influencing why there's a shortage today. I'm not sure.
What they were saying was, 1, because of the fires, and then 2, in part because people were pulling them out, so it isn't as widely grown as other varietals in the area. And so because of climate changes and the fires or what have you, the small supply that did exist is now even smaller. And so people are having a hard time finding Merlot, especially for those winemakers who don't grow their own grapes, that they're buying at the cost of Merlot is much higher than in previous years.
That's crazy to me because Merlot is a blending grape.
Exactly.
So it can always be utilized. So that's so odd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of the great varieties of the world. I love it.
And you know what's funny, y'all? In Sideways, in the movie, he doesn't even say why he doesn't like Merlot. He just doesn't like it.
Yeah.
I know some people like that too, with other varietals.
It's like Chardonnay haters.
Or some young wild,
I I knew where she was going.
Oh, so Ames, tell us about the wine that we are drinking right now.
Yes.
The 2019 Cabernet.
Baby.
So 2019 is the year we had this wildfire, but up until that point, it was one of the best growing seasons we've ever had. So luckily we were able to harvest these grapes before the fire. This one is, I think it's 91% Merlot, 6% Petit Verdot, and 1% Malbec. And
91% Merlot,
but 1% Malbec.
No,
we have the Cab.
We have the Cabernet. You said 91% Merlot.
Oh, I'm sorry, 91% Cabernet Sauvignon.
I was getting ready to say, your label, you're going to get in trouble. Because this label says Cabernet Sauvignon 2019. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
And so over half of our acreage is Cabernet, and we have about 30 different separate blocks, sort of separate growing areas on our vineyard that are dedicated to Cabernet, and each one is a little bit different. Some of them might have a different clone or a different rootstock, or there's a different soil type, row direction, soil depth, and all these things, even though it's the same property, it makes the Cabernet that grows in that spot just slightly different. And so we get these 30 different elements to start blending, and each one can provide something that the other one can't. So it's really fun to kind of sit down and mix and match and figure out what the ideal blend is.
This is so very well balanced. I was reading the label, and you have 14.9% alcohol on this. So that kind of makes me go, might be a little higher, but won't say that. Please cut that part out, Sarita, from the podcast. However, it is so very well balanced. It's not hot. This is just
not hot at all.
It's not hot. You would not. That's why I had to look at the label, because I was, I tasted it and I read the label, then I tasted it, then I went back to the label and I was like, 14. I'm like, no, not this. So it is very good.
So one of the biggest challenges we have at our vineyard is in sort of our elevation and with our very shallow soils is the fruit tends to have a lot of tannin in it, and tannin is a really important component of wine. But if there's too much, it can it can be unpleasant to drink. So our technique to soften that tannin is to leave the grapes on the vine for more time, and that helps soften some of the tannins. So that's sort of our technique to get softer wines. And you're mentioning earlier that you weren't sure if you wanted to corb in or pull the cork out for these wines, but because of the tannin and the acid these wines have, they'll if you open the bottle, it'll stay. Sometimes it tastes better the second day or even the third day.
Yeah. Well, we'll try to see if we can leave the bottle.
Yeah. I'm looking at your website now, and you have a rosé on here. What do you make your rosé with?
We make our rosé from Merlot grapes.
Mm.
Nice, very nice.
Are you ever concerned about overripeness with leaving the grapes on the vine longer?
Yeah, that's a concern. But with Cabernet, I'm more concerned about underripeness, because if it's underripe, you can get these green elements that a little bit can make it kind of interesting. But if it's like bell pepper or grass, it's not good for Cabernet.
Right.
And then we have other varieties that we can use to blend. If it is a little bit overripe, we can blend in Merlot or we sometimes use Petit Verdot, which has a little bit more acid, so that can kind of give it a little more liveliness. Cab Franc can add this kind of floral element.
Yeah.
I read that your team uses a light touch technique, and it's healthier for the vineyard crew. So explain what that is.
Oh, sure. That's mostly it's organic. So just not using synthetic chemicals. It's better for the environment. It's better for our consumer, and probably most important to me, it's better for the people tending the land. One of my inspirations for farming organically was like, I didn't want to be exposed to those things, and I don't want people who I'm asking to help with the vineyard to be exposed to those things either. But sort of organic is what we've done for a really long time. But after these wildfires, that was sort of a wake up call for me to think about what we could do, what else we can do, what am I missing? And I started to think about our impact on climate change and climate change's impact on us as a vineyard. And a big part, I sort of just did a lot of research and studying about it. And agriculture in general contributes about 10% to carbon emissions and global warming. But soil has this tremendous ability to store carbon. So green plants photosynthesize and take carbon dioxide out of the air and put it into their roots, and where it can stay for a very long time. And so farming techniques that don't disturb the soil help store more carbon in the ground. So that's like my latest focus, is to make our vineyard a carbon sink rather than a contributor to global warming.
Was it something special about the soil on your property that made you say, oh, this is it? I know it was already a vineyard, but was it something about the soil that made you say, yes, we can, this is it. This is it for us?
No, it was actually, that's a good question. I was still in school when we were looking for vineyards. And so when they say a little education is a dangerous thing, so I thought I knew way more than I did. So we looked at all these different properties and I said, oh, it doesn't have this, that, or the other. But when we came upon this Bell Mountain Ranch, it wasn't a rational decision. It turns out that it was, but it turned out to be a good idea. But it was really just emotional feel. Like I knew it was the right place. I just sort of felt it in my gut, and that was just such a beautiful spot. We sort of felt like we found our home. But then once we started farming it, and most of the vineyard was planted on a rootstock called AXR1, which almost all grapevines in the world are grafted to prevent them from having their roots damaged by a little insect pest called phylloxera. But the rootstock that this vineyard was planted on was susceptible to it, and a lot of the vineyard was starting to die. So we did a lot of, we dug 100 backhoe pits all throughout the land, jumped down inside them, took soil analyses at various levels in each of these 100 pits, and had this really good picture of what the soil was. And that helped us determine what variety, what rootstock to grow, and all the different microclimates of the property.
Your label is very interesting. I'm assuming that part of the shape is a mountain, but can you give us some background on the impetus behind your label?
Yeah, it's funny. Not very many people are able to identify what's in it, but that's kind of part of the fun. When we were designing the label, we wanted something that had this sort of modern, contemporary look, and we didn't want it to look dated after 10 years. And so this is sort of a representation. It's two things. One is wine swirling around in the glass, so it's got that wavy motion.
Oh, I
and then
see it.
Then if you're swirling the wine too vigorously, like a drop might come spill out of the glass. So that's sort of captures that moment right before you take your first sip of wine. But then, like you say, it's also represents our landscape. So it's the hills, one of our ponds, and then the sun is that little round circle.
Nice, really nice.
It's very nice.
I love that.
Ames, can you talk about your sound immersion tours? I thought that was pretty interesting.
Oh yeah. So 25 years ago, I went to this museum in Brooklyn called PS1. It's an old, like an ancient schoolhouse that's been converted into a museum. And they had a sound art installation. I'd never heard of sound art, and I didn't even know that was a thing. And you put on these headphones and you walk around this museum, and you can hear footsteps, which sound like it's a recording, but you can imagine that they're your own footsteps. And it was just so clever. I just never seen anything like that. And there are all these little sounds as they would get louder as you get closer. But it was all just, how the recording was made. And I always thought it'd be really interesting to recreate that into the vineyard environment, but I had no idea how to even start doing that. And I just sort of filed it away as an idea that will never be realized. And then when the pandemic broke out, in California, they shut down all parks and all outdoor places, that public spaces were off limits. So, and everybody was just cooped up and stuck at home. So our vineyard is 50 acres, but the whole ranch is 340 acres. And so we made it available to all of our team to just, come there if they wanted to be there with their families. It's really easy to spread out and be safe. And so we thought it would be really interesting to somehow create a way for our customers to also, take advantage of our land. And we also were thinking about ways that we could, not have close contact between our staff and visitors. And so then I remembered I had this idea. And so we partnered with a local sound artist who came out to the vineyard and spent, he recorded thousands of hours of sounds of nature, sounds of people working. And so he sort of has this huge library of sounds of our land. And then we recorded, visitors come in, they take a walk around the vineyard and through our forests and woodlands, and they're listening to headphones that are, and it's attached to an app that you can download on your phone. And as you walk around, you sort of enter, the GPS knows where you are as you enter a new zone. And as you enter a new zone, you hear the sounds that would normally be happening in that area. And then you hear a little description of what's happening, and it's really cool.
Wow. Sounds like a nice experience.
Yeah.
Sounds relaxing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With a glass of this.
Oh yeah.
You bring a glass with you. It's about a mile. It's not too strenuous.
That's nice. Like, you may not want to leave the vineyard. Just
Exactly.
wandering around the grapes.
You drink too much, you might get lost on 340 acres. Trust fund, baby. I'm still sticking with that.
So you guys have a wine club, right?
We do, yeah. So we ship wine to our customers a few times a year, and it's a great way. We have some wines that are hard to find, and so our club members have access to those wines that we don't make very much of.
So this 2019, what's the price point on it for our listeners? Bell Mountain Cabernet 2019.
$60.
60. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, this is wonderful. Like, the more I drink it, yeah.
It gets better.
It does.
It's a 2019.
Right.
Which is kind of young for cab, right?
Exactly.
Which means you can age this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I think it'll last for 15 or 20 years.
Yeah.
I think. But we've been doing this for a while, so we're able to taste some of the wines we made 20 years ago. In fact, that we're having an alumni party for all the people who've worked for us that have moved on to other things. Next month we're going to have a little party to have them all come back, and we'll open up some vertical of all the wines we've made throughout the years.
Wow, I think our invitations got lost in the mail, so I think you might need to send those.
Well, I would love to have you anytime you want to visit.
You're on mute.
I saw on Instagram that Chris Christensen of Bodkin Wines was an enologist there.
Oh yeah,
at Bell Mountain.
Oh yeah, do you know Chris? We
do not, but we know who he is and we know his wine.
Oh yeah, he worked with us for a long time. He's a great guy. Just and he created this brand new category of wine that no one has ever had in the United States, which is a sparkling Sauvignon Blanc. It's awesome.
Yeah, we haven't had the pleasure. That sounds wonderful.
That sounds nice. And I will drink Leslie's portion.
Any other questions for Ames before we do the closeout questions, ladies?
Just what do you have planned for the future?
Well, we're making a sparkling wine for the first time that we'll release later this year, sort of in conjunction with our anniversary. And it's been a few years in the making. So it's been aging in the bottle it'll be almost 24 months before we disgorge it. And that's every time we break open a bottle to see how it's progressing, it just gets better and better. So I'm really excited about that one.
Oh, nice.
Is it Chardonnay?
I was about to ask.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a Blanc de Noir. So it's a blend of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir.
Pinot.
But it's very clear. It doesn't have any, it's not a rosé, but it's.
Oh, it sounds delicious.
Yeah, it does. Lovely.
Yeah,
All right.
we gotta keep checking the mailbox for those invitations because don't know what happened.
So we have some closeout questions. They're all farm related. So I don't know if anybody else can answer, probably just Ames. But here is number one. What fruit or vegetable is easiest to grow?
I would say radish is the easiest. It only takes about a month to get.
Say it one more time. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, a radish.
Oh, really?
It only takes a month to grow. It's attractive. You've got this red root and the green top. You can eat the entire, you can eat the greens, you can eat the radish. And it's just sort of, if you're new to gardening, it's just great for, building up your confidence. And they taste good.
Nice. Okay. What products should we grow instead of buying from the grocery store?
Well, there's something called the dirty dozen. So there are things that you don't want, that you want to try to have that are organic. It's better to have everything organic, but the most important ones are things that are there. The part that you eat is exposed. So strawberries, grapes, blueberries, apples, pears, peaches, anything that the part you eat can is exposed to the elements or exposed to a spray.
Oh.
I would say that's important.
If you could only have one farm animal, which one would you have?
For me personally, or
for you personally?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. Well, for the vineyard, I think that the best animal is the sheep, because it is they're kind of easier to move around, and they eat a tremendous amount of weeds and grass, and sort of can really add a lot of energy to the vineyard.
Okay.
Interesting.
Last question. Name one question we should ask farmers at the farmers market.
Okay, so I've got two ways to answer this. The first one's kind of a cutesy answer, which is you should ask them their name. And the reason is because I think even more important than being organic, if you can look your farmer in the eye and he knows who you are and you know who he is, there's probably a better chance that you're going to have a relationship, and he would not want to, he would want to, I think that relationship between what you eat and where it comes from is so important. But the answer that's not as cute is that I think is really important is I would ask that farmer what the percentage of soil organic matter they have in their soil is. And that, the percentage of organic matter in the soil is so important for water retention, for preventing runoff, for storing carbon in the soil. And so I think farmers that are focused on that are probably going to have better, like more nutritious food, and you'll know that they're taking better care of their environment.
Before you go, tell everybody where they can follow you and follow the winery.
Oh, well, you can visit our website, which is medlockames.com, MEDLOCKAMES, or you can follow us on Instagram. Got some great images that you can pull up on or on Facebook. And if you ever are in California, we would love to show you what we do.
Is your handle Medlock Ames on IG and Facebook too?
Yes. All one word.
Oh, that's easy. Nice.
Awesome. Well, this is great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you all.
Thanks.
It was a pleasure
meeting you.
Yeah.
Definitely our pleasure. And thanks again for the beautiful
for the wine. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that's our show, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode with Ames, and be sure to check out Medlock Ames Winery and taste this 2019 Cabernet because it is wonderful. Have a great weekend. Cheers.